Ah, have you ever felt like a fraud or an imposter when someone begins to compliment you and you're like thinking that, oh no, I'm not that good. You must have me confused with someone else. For the record, those moments are commonly known as imposter moments or part of an imposter syndrome. But I'm going to tell you, I have a little bit different take on it. For me, it's the moment you actually kill your dreams. It kills your potential. It's that moment that you cut yourself off from thinking bigger. And of course, I'm going to say, stop it. I'm Andrea Goeglein, and with me again today is Lora Picini, who we had such a great conversation about leaned in our last chat, Lora, that you brought it up in that conversation, and we want to circle back.
Yeah.
So welcome. And I'm going to let you start.
Sure. I don't know why it's a topic that resonates with so many people. I'll tell you in a minute why, but thank you, Andrea.
Okay.
It was coined back in 1978 by two clinical psychologists. So it's real. And lots of people have experienced it, but it's the imposter syndrome is really where you experience doubt, where the gap between how you see yourself and how the rest of the world sees yourself is huge. I say it can be as wide as the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
You feel like a fraud. Somebody compliments you and you say, oh no, that was just based on luck. You feel inadequate. You attribute your success to external factors.
Right.
And a lot of people, despite the fact that it was coined long ago and was mentioned in Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In,
right.
A lot of people are not aware of it. So when I would speak at women's events, when I was working in the gender space at a gaming company in the past, I would get a lot of nods from people in the room who knew exactly what I was talking about. And to me, when you put a name on something, you sort of have two experiences. One is you go, oh, I'm not alone. So you have that sense of community, and then you go, wait a minute, I'm not special. I thought I was the only one experiencing this. So you have like two moments that go on, but I think the more important moment is that you realize that you're not alone.
Correct.
And if it happens to someone who's standing up on a stage talking to you, like I would be standing in front of a group in a more senior position than other people in the room, saying that I have imposter moments or imposter syndrome, it can be really sort of eye-opening. And I like the term imposter moments too, Andrea.
Yes.
I'm going to say.
I really, because it does kind of creep in. Moments gives us that creep in that, we're really just so unconscious. And what you really drove me to go and look it up and ask the question, is this something that only happens to women? And the research is, it's not, point specific, because according to the study, just like all research, let's just say somewhere between 60% of men, 70% of women will have that feeling at some point where they're like, oh, wait, no, you must have me confused with someone who's really great. And of course, you and I know that the work for any of us is to get over that. And if you're not good at it, learn something, get better at it, but don't cause the doubt. But what I loved was finding this MD cardiologist who did a TED Talk. His name is Rosenthal, and I'll make sure that the link is in this. And he's standing on a TED stage. This is a person who saves bleeping lives.
Right.
Talking about the fact that he felt like an imposter every time he was doing these presentations.
Wow.
So it's a real animal, and it is clearly an animal that we grow up. It's not like my little unicorn that helps you think better and joyous things. It's the opposite. I don't know what the opposite of a unicorn is, but clearly.
I don't either.
yeah. What's the opposite? I'm going to admit I've been there. Give us a tip. Let's just have 3 tips between us that would help people. What do you do when you have that feeling?
Well, learning from you and learning from others, because I have learned so much from becoming friends with you and working with you. But Things like a gratitude list or positive affirmations, they're two separate things, but a
Yeah,
gratitude list, it's a practice.
right.
You know, people have practices they do when they're working out or they're exercising to prep themselves. And a gratitude list can be a great way to start your day, sort of,
Right.
or end your day. It depends on what works for you. But a list of things that you're grateful for to kind of keep you grounded and realizing how lucky you are. And I think it helps you keep perspective. And affirmations are great because you can have one about this. A great affirmation that I've used in the past is I have talents to share and I belong here. And so if I was going to go up on stage and I was afraid, maybe I was one of three speakers and the other two people looked a little more slick and like they knew what they were doing, you know, that might be something I might repeat 10 or 15 times in my head just
Yep.
to remind myself.
And,
Another
you know,
thing,
I'm going to tell you,
yeah,
I want to stop you there for a
yeah,
moment because one of the things, and a client who is a dear friend gave me this because I didn't watch Grey's Anatomy, but as much as she did. And there was something as known as the superhero pose. And it was
yes,
a form of taking an affirmation. And I
yes,
crafted mine that I work with people to transform hearts that transform the world. Because, you know, I've said it many times in public. I haven't achieved the material success that many of the people that I work with, but I can continually, excuse me, work towards knowing that the contribution that I make to your growth, to people watching this, is
right,
all a part of a daily effort to know I am grateful for the path, and then this is my contribution. So those
right.
types of things may seem hokey,
They're
but
not.
they work. And there
Yeah,
is actually science behind that superhero pose. There's a TED Talk on that one too.
there
So go ahead.
is.
What's another tip that you
Well, and
want
you
to
know, I
share?
have to, I had just made me think of something. So my niece, when she was in, I think, middle school, she had a math teacher who, before they took their test, made them all stand up and put their arms up in the air and put their legs kind of wide and their arms up in the air and do this kind of a movement and then sit down and take their test. And he felt like they were more engaged and that they seemed to do better because
Yeah.
they had more energy going on. So I don't think we should take those things
No,
lightly. I
no.
also think we need to acknowledge, you can call it your committee, you can
Yeah.
call it your board of directors. I wouldn't call it board of directors because that implies that they have a fiduciary
Right.
interest in your well-being. But the committee that goes on in your head, and there's a great Zillow ad where they're like 12 versions of this woman all talking to her at once. And so I think
Mhm.
you need to, if you can acknowledge there's a committee in your head that is sending messages your way that aren't necessarily in your best interest, that's where things like affirmations and a gratitude list can help. Or you can just say, thank you, committee, for sharing, but move on. So that is, you know, that's another thing. Talking to someone, a trusted friend, someone who
Yeah.
knows you, someone maybe, you know, I went to law school, maybe someone I went to law school with
Right.
who was like, Laura, remember you did this and you did that. And it
Yeah,
just
our friends,
thinking,
yeah, they will have memories. They will have experience where we're going through the struggle of how do I do this? You know, all the learning, all that learning tension that goes on in order to learn something. Those around us receive the benefit of that learning stress that we've gone through. You
right,
know, that is the things that you're saying, the gratitude, the committee in your head, you know, where I started this, at that moment that this thing known as the imposter moment takes over, if you could just pause and appreciate it. Oh, there it is again. There's
yeah,
that little sucker.
yeah,
And then you know that, you know, because I was trained to it and I share it with everyone who will do the work, the ABCDE
yes,
disputation, where you actually start having a conversation. You put that little committee over to the side and you start having a conversation and you write it out. This is how I felt. Is it true? You know, this person said this. Well, no, I don't have the same experience that this person had. Oh, well, but you begin the
right,
process of very linearly, seeing how you contribute to the falsehood that you're really not as good as you are. You
Right.
are that good.
And I
Okay.
love the idea, Andrea, that you suggested of taking that A, B, C, D, E and applying it to your resume. So when you're in a
Absolutely.
job search, applying it to the parts of your resume where you feel like it's a little bit weaker, or,
Yes.
oh, that's not really me. I just made it look pretty for my resume. No, you actually can apply it. And it can be very, very
And
powerful.
one of the things about resumes, jobs, we go in with the impression that we're supposed to know everything about everything, and we freeze up.
Yeah.
Oh no, I really don't know what. Well, you know what? You learned how to read, you learned how to write. Most of us have very advanced degrees. I mean, you're an attorney. I'm a PhD. Give me a break. Somehow, some way, we had the capacity to learn. So if I don't know it today, if I care enough, I could probably know it by tomorrow, or something more complex
Right.
over a reasonable period of time.
Right.
Like, give it up.
Yeah.
We just don't have to know everything at this moment.
Right. I just think
Yeah.
it's harder when you're changing gears, like all those years of being an attorney, and then I moved on to do corporate social responsibility and diversity and inclusion and gender work, and that's a big step in a different direction. So you have to know that you're going to have those moments when you're going to wonder, but you're right, you're constantly learning.
And, and that was another one of the ones that came up in the research where, and I asked the question, give me the famous people who feel
Yes,
this.
I was
And
amazed.
Marissa Mayer, here she was. So, she was the former CEO of Yahoo. And I remembered when a female became the CEO of Yahoo, that was a really big thing. And here was a person who had an engineering degree. I mean, she did not get there because, she slept her way to the top in the 1950s. Or this was a woman who was highly accomplished. And of course she didn't know the job. Why should she have known that job? But she had the intellect and the capacity. But she admits she was feeling that way. And so I think we have to have a higher appreciation for what those moments can teach us.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, there's so many examples, Andrea. I mean, Maya Angelou was the one that made me crazy. After her 11th book, she felt like she was going to be found out. I don't even know how to wrap my head around that. The other one, Tom Hanks, such a favorite actor of so many people. He said that he felt like he was a hair's breadth away from being found out. Found out as what? I mean, he's a great actor. Or, Diane von Furstenberg, one of my fashion heroes, having moments when she doubted herself. She, to me, is the symbol of one of the strongest women in fashion for decades. So it's very real. And, I think,
I want to thank you for encouraging us to come back and complete this or expand on that conversation, because it isn't a little something. It can stop you dead in your tracks. It can. In fact, stop you from seeing and going after the next big things.
Right.
So, Lora, thank you. If you have more ideas, we'll do that. For now, I'm just going to say, remember, those imposter moments are the moments that you're giving up your dreams. And I would just suggest that you not do that.
Right.
So, So thank you, Lora Picini.
Sure.
I'm Dr. Andrea Goeglein. Please subscribe. Please go around, check out the Unicorn Challenge. It will help you get over these imposter moments. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Now let me turn it off. Yay. Stop the